Who can eat nails and drink toxic waste? Barney, Barney. Who can shit out an ocean and piss out a Dodge Dart? Barney, Barney. Who prevents assassinations and then commits them himself? Barney? Mark Barney Greenway? Napalm Death? New Napalm Death album, Apex Predator, Easy Meat. Jesse, if you're out there, I hope you enjoyed the song. It was based off of something we had talked about. Jesus, it's been forever ago. Barney is like a superhero, so is Napalm Death. They've been around for about 30 years or so, and if there's one thing that you can always count on, one thing that's always consistent, one thing that you can always mark on your calendar is going to be a hell of an experience. It's a new Napalm Death record. Sure, they've been a little bit different throughout the years. Their original material perhaps was a lot more direct, in your face, and that's saying something considering this shit is very fucking direct and in your face. Perhaps a little bit more toward the grindcore side, whereas the new stuff does incorporate some death metal elements, but you can always pinpoint the date of a Napalm Death record and know that it's going to be something that's tremendous. Know that it's something that's going to be worth the money, not to mention also worth the listen. Oddly enough, whenever you first turn on Apex Predator, Easy Meat, you start to wonder whether or not this band has pulled a Morbid Angel. Because the very first track is unlike anything you've ever heard out of Napalm Death. It's something that involves a very, kind of chorus style singing in the background with kind of an industrial element as far as the music is concerned. And you start to think to yourself, because this goes on for the entire track, you're waiting for the entire near 4 minutes duration of this song. You're waiting for it to sound like the Napalm Death that you know, that you love, that you've listened to for ages. And it doesn't happen. And you start to get that fear. You start to get that feeling in the back of your mind. Ever since this shit happened, ever since Saint Anger, ever since Illa Divinum Insanus and albums just like it. This is something that probably stems all the way back to Cold Lake for some of you motherfuckers. Ever since then, we always kind of hold a little bit of worry whenever something sounds so ridiculously different. But the funny thing is that this is not a bad difference, I'm not going to lie. This is instead one that reminded me a little bit more of Mayhem last year with Esoteric Warfare. It reminded me of that off-putting, sinister, kind of melancholic, off-putting, kind of deranged sound that really is incorporated with something that's traditionally associated chanting and with ritual, and in most cases with the Gregorians. Now this is not something that's to that level, but it does kind of harken the element a little bit. 14 tracks, only one of them's like that. The other 13 are blistering. The other 13 are Napalm Death doing their sinister best to retain themselves as the kings of this genre, the fucking crowning glory of the grindcore scene, of the grindcore department. And if you remember, we have an alum from the grindcore department in Carcass that just won Album of the Year 2 years ago. So this is something where it's not absolutely crazy that a group such as Napalm Death could pull it off. And this is a strong release. This is one that's very, very easy to bang along with. This is also one that could easily be the soundtrack of all of the rage and all of the destruction that you kind of harbor within yourself. Either that, or it could be the soundtrack of the deconstruction and the absolute terror caused by anybody that you can think of doing a terrible act. And in reality, whenever you think about it, that's not even what Napalm Death is 100% talking about. There's a lot of messages of corruption in there, and this is something that has been there for quite some time. This is a topic that they've touched base on over and over again, because there is a lot of corruption in this world, and it's not necessarily just being done by those who do bad things. It's instead people that we trust and people that we think are, doing what's best for us, that instead are the ones that are robbing us blind, not to mention also taking the knife and digging it deep into our back, pulling down their pants and sticking their cock deep into our asses, fucking us right up that ass. Napalm Death is blistering, they're uncompromising, and once again the oral assault is just picture perfect. It's one that continuously showcases that Napalm Death is one of the most consistent and most reliable bands, not only in the grindcore department, but in heavy metal in general. If you are a fan of the genre, if you are a fan of metal, you're going to find something with Napalm Death that you're going to enjoy. I remember listening to albums of theirs from the 90s, and the vocals seemed a bit off-putting at first. but man, did I warm up to it fast. Man, it became very simple to get really kind of turned on and enraptured by it, to get really into everything that they've done. And the more that you explore Napalm Death's discography, the more that you recognize why they are considered to be the legends that they are considered. There is a little something for everybody, and the intensity level, bar none, from track to track, is really difficult to match whenever you compare them to another group. There are even some moments of harmony on this album. There are even some moments where the vocals get a little less distorted, a little less insane, in fact get a little bit clean. And it works so well with the guitar work in the background, it works so well with the musicianship that accompanies it, that it adds an element that has already been present within Napalm Death's music, an element that is used sparsely but intelligently within their music, and it just continues the legend. It continues to build the legend. I feel as though I should expect a check. I feel I should expect a check from someone, because I don't know if I've ever been so eloquent before in speaking about an album that's as blood-soaked as this one. It's crazy. I love it. I love this album, and I love Napalm Death, so a lot of people will probably think it's a bit of a fanboy type style, but I don't like them, you know, similar to like the way I like some other groups. They're just a band that knows how to consistently put out an album. They know how to write, they know how to perform, and they know how to put the full package together. That's a consistent facet that you can easily discover whenever you listen to this album and then you dive back into their discography. And that's all I have to say. I mean, that's all that really can be said about it. I'd give it a 90 out of 100. It's a 9 out of 10. This is a great album. 40 minutes, it doesn't overstay its welcome. The flow is, of course, going to be perfect because it just literally feels like it's one assault right after the other, and that's exactly what you want. That's exactly what you expect from an album like this. You don't want the foot taken off the accelerator. I know whenever we talked about Silosis, we talked about how the last track needs to have a little something different sometimes. In this case, it was the first track. It really led it down a very interesting route. But the last track does also possess those qualities because it's the longest song in the album. It's over 5 minutes in length, similar to the Silosis album, where the longest song of 9 minutes in length was the very last track. But this is sustained chaos. This is sustained insanity. This is sustained brilliance. This is Napalm Death combining all of their best elements and throwing them together on a song, and it takes you home very nicely. This is where, unlike with what I said on the Silosis disc, where something different, something conceptually, you know, out there, can really take an album from very good to very great. This is one that instead combines all of the greatest elements of the band, all the things that they do terrifically, and puts them together in order to really bring an album home on not only a strong foot, but it's similar to if you see like a late game drive in a football game, or if you watch a wrestler who makes a great comeback, or in auto racing, if you see a car that makes a last-second surge to take the checkered flag at first. This is similar to that. This is a song by a band that's able to put their best foot forward with the very final track in order to get those little numbers up a little bit higher, especially in the old heart of big old mean Coverkiller Nation. What did you guys think about this disc? I know that some of you have probably not gotten a chance to listen to it yet, but you need to. This is essential, required listening. This is your homework assignment. If you haven't listened to Apex Predator Easy Meat by Napalm Death, by this stage of the game, you certainly need to do so. And I know in some territories this is not out yet. I know this is one that is not yet out in America. However, I know that most of you motherfuckers don't do shit about that anyway. This is one to buy. Buy this on Tuesday, the 27th of January. Listen to the fuck out of it. It's just a great disc. What did you guys think of it? Let me know.